Don't you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love? Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. And now here's your host, Rich Barris.
And thank you, Don. We're going to see you in a little bit, actually. Welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. If you're following along on Rumble, check it out right over there. The People's Pundit.locals.com community. Join up, give us some growth in the community, and we will bring you some really serious election coverage this year, which is so far so good. All right. With that said, if you're on YouTube, we appreciate it. Of course, give us the thumbs up, right? Subscribe, the notification bell. We go through this every day, right? That'll let you know when we're going to go live. But of course, we definitely are, trying to push everybody to subscribe to Rumble. All right. They'll get there little by little, right? All right. So today, we're going to talk about the public polling project because since it started, we haven't seen speed of contributions for a single week like this. It posted serious numbers, so it's already time to start talking about what's going to be in it. And it is basically the anniversary survey, right? Which is cool. So we're going to go back, and we had some in that very first one in March, April survey, where we said we'll do this once a year, we'll come back, and we'll see what people think. The Out of This World section, I think we're going to go ahead and just leave that off, all right? But we are going to do trust in institutions because I'm very curious to see where does the CDC come down this year, right? Where do local police, federal police, whatever it may be, right? Because we have a bunch of them. And the presidency. Where's the presidency at? Trust in the institution of the White House itself. Very curious to find out. But the generic ballot, personally, is going to be the most interesting for me. Because, if you were watching earlier in the week, then you saw my criticism of the polls that are just completely out in left field at this point. I mean, this cannot, as I have said over and over and over again, this cannot be an accident. You either know you have a problem by now and you just refuse to fix it, or you're full of crap and you're doing it on purpose. And there's no reason to pretend anymore that that's not what you're doing. After Texas, it's very clear Democrats have a very big problem. Texas is the latest. We had New Jersey. We had Virginia last year. And as the year continues, we're looking to see whether or not we have one-offs, something that was specifically maybe localized, or if this is a major national problem for Democrats. That's what people like me look at as we have all these specials and we look at primary voting. And it's clear, Democrats have a major problem. At this point, it's just a question of how big is that problem? Is it a 5-point problem or is it a 15-point problem? How big is this problem? If Texas is any indication, it's a big problem. All right. So with that in mind, we'll have Don on later to do our Q&A, of course, right? Right now, though, we'll get into the public polling project in a second, okay? But right now, what I really want to get into is some of the insanity that I'm hearing on a day-to-day basis from people who are supposed to be responsible, calm, cool-headed. The Senate is supposed to be the most deliberative body in the world. It sounds like the most idiotic body in the world, the most idiotic chamber in the world. Tom Tillis, Lindsey Graham, even talk show hosts like Sean Hannity, who are supposed to be on the right, making these insane remarks like Putin, whoever is close to Putin, should execute him. whoever can get close enough to him out of the mouth of a U.S. senator should assassinate him. Lindsay, Vladimir Putin is more popular in Russia than you could ever dream of being in South Carolina. This talk is idiotic, and it's dangerous. Tom Tillis, he deserves to die because he's a murderer and a liar. He invaded a country and killed women and children. He's a murderer and a liar, and he should die. He told local radio Tuesday. Or was it Tuesday or was it Thursday? Thursday. It was yesterday. Tom, what the hell are we? What do we deserve? You just described what we've been doing for the better part of 100 years. We just killed an entire family in Afghanistan a few months ago and lied about it. Joe Biden, because he looked weak and frail and pathetic and incompetent, he decided to authorize airstrikes against a supposed ISIS-K leader. And instead, he killed an entire family, including women and children. What does Joe Biden deserve? If Vladimir Putin deserves to die because he's a liar and a murderer. Joe Biden's a liar and a murderer. He's both of those things. So is your buddy, George W. Bush. What's your point? International relations is not emotional. Foreign policy is not emotional. Any doctrine built on humanitarian nonsense is just that. Your policy will be filled with folly, and you'll screw up. By the way, what does the West deserve? What does NATO deserve by really goading Vladimir Putin into invading Ukraine? Be refusing to just say that Ukraine will not become a part of NATO. Refusing to acknowledge that there are probably half the country, according to their best polling, half the country that feels they want to be pro-Russian. They identify with pan-Slavism. NATO refused Ukraine's request to institute a no-fly zone. Not that I am personal. And by the way, don't give me this "you're a pollster, why do you have views on foreign policy" crap. When it comes to war, nobody should be impartial. Do you have children? I have children. I'd like them to grow up in a better world than we have right now. I would like them to have children who can also come into a better world than we have right now. A far more sane, rational world than the one we have now. There's no such thing as impartiality when it comes to war. There's cowardice. You could hide behind your profession because you're a coward. All of these people who have the strongest views on it have never seen it. They don't know what it does to men. Or women and children, by the way, for that matter, who get mistaken for ISIS-K. These idiots sit in this chamber or in their lavish homes and make these ridiculous statements. Lindsey Graham hasn't met a war he doesn't like. He's never fought in one. They're all like JAG officers or something, and then they tout it like Ted Lieu. I was in the Air Force. I was a lawyer. Good for you, Ted. We're all impressed. You're a pogue. You always send somebody else to do it. And the U.S. really building a great reputation for itself. Muammar Gaddafi, we talked about this how many times? Why on earth would Kim Jong-un want to deal with the United States after what we did to Muammar Gaddafi? Why on earth? It reminds me of the original mission of the early Green Berets, the Montagnards. Why on earth would any indigenous rebel force want to side with the United States after we abandoned the Kurds? After we abandoned the people in Afghanistan that we did. Now, look, I'm not saying we should be there forever. You guys know I do not support never-ending war. I don't. ODAs like that should be used in a very limited, and I know they're dying to go out there and do their job. I get it. I was dying to do my job in the Army too. I remember. But it should be used wisely. Otherwise, this is what you do. If you're a neoliberal and you're a neoconservative, you have blood all over you. Not on your hands. Forget that expression. You are soaked from head to toe in the blood of the Ukrainian people and the Russians. You did this. You favored it. But this is what we do. We don't commit. We haven't fought a war correctly since, well, Korea was the beginning of the curse. And NATO is weak. That's why they won't institute a no-fly zone. Because they talk a lot. They talk a lot. And the truth is, Donald Trump was right about NATO from the beginning. It's a dinosaur. It's a weak dinosaur that serves to make certain people, very few, rich, very rich, and make another select, very few group of people feel important. It has been sucking the lifeblood out of the United States for 30 years when it shouldn't even have existed at that point. It is a dinosaur with no mission, and at this point, it's dangerous and destabilizing. And anybody who has any real knowledge of international relations or security studies at all will tell you that an existing balancing coalition is an aggressor when it doesn't have something to balance against. It is an aggressor. We are the aggressors. I hate to break it to you all. Led by idiots like Lindsey Graham and Tom Tillis. Being supported on the airwaves from other tools like Sean Hannity. Somebody should kill him. Remind me again, refresh my memory. Did Sean Hannity support the Iraq War? Sean, did you support an illegal invasion based on a lie that led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of civilians, according to the UN? Based on a lie. Give me this moralism crap. He's a murderer. So are we. So are we. Is it just all right when we do it? Maybe if you would have served, you would have seen it for yourself. But you didn't. You just sit in front of your microphone, have on these asinine individuals to spew this nonsense. You know, I got to tell you, it's at least, we could at least afford the leaders who came before us a little bit of leeway because they were dealing with new things like, you know, the nation state system, the international state of anarchy with the nation state system in bipolar, multipolar systems. And they had no choice but to kind of learn as they went. You know, the best and the brightest, and the Kennedy administration turned out to be, you know, the worst and the dumbest. But then at least Nixon kind of came later and was like, you know what, that wasn't so smart. Our leaders today have all of the benefit of the world in history, in outcome, to see the wisdom of their positions. And yet they are still stupid. So what are we to make of them? What are we to make of them? Assassinate Vladimir Putin. You out of your mind? And who's going to take over after Vladimir Putin? You ever think of that? You just kind of mock it. Oh, yeah, we'll assume he's going to be worse. Do you realize how dumb you sound? So he's a murderer, killer of women and children. You're fully aware somebody could be worse. The old Saddam thing, right? Remember, guys, if you've been around long enough like me, this all sounds very familiar to you. So you concede. You concede that somebody less favorable than Vladimir Putin, that could be the result of it. You concede that. And you just kind of shrug it off. Let me break it down for you anyway. You shouldn't have to be concerned about that. Because nation states are rational actors. And it wouldn't have mattered if it was Vladimir Putin or Medvedev or who the hell ever. This was inevitable because of us, because of our actions. And if you're going to talk tough and you're going to talk big, at least back the people that you goaded into fighting a superpower. Cowardly, disgusting, disgraceful cowardice. If you had the courage of your convictions, hop a plane, get your ass to Poland, and hike east. They're waiting on you. It's so predictable. It was so predictable. Of course they were going to deny the no-fly zone. Of course they were. Joe Biden's back to leading the world, right? The U.S. is back to leading the West, leading the way. And other morons like Eli Lake. I actually had respect for that guy up until yesterday. Robert and I couldn't believe the stupidity in this man. Oh, it's not a big deal. We pushed Russia into the arms of China. And don't worry, it's not a big deal that we've now pushed India in the arms of the Russians and the Chinese. Don't worry about it. You're just going to have to come to grips with the fact that they are our enemies and we're going to be in a Cold War against them. Dummy! We can't win that war, cold or otherwise. Holy crap! The arrogance and the hubris will be the end of us. It will be our downfall. It will be our downfall if we do not remove this class of very stupid, yet very powerful people and those who enable them. Like Mediaites, like Eli Lake. Except we're in a Cold War with Russia, China, and now, India. How dumb can you be? Did your mother drop you on your head? What are these people even doing? Working for media outlets. We really let this go, ladies and gentlemen, but we let this happen. Cernovich is right about this. We let this happen. We sadly kind of just sat back and just let these idiots run the show. Hell, some of it's even voted for some of them. Let's be honest. Somebody had to. And then these other idiots who support them, their infrastructure that supports them. The propaganda wing of the cabal, like Eli Lake. Cold War with Russia and China. It almost hurts my head. Because I can't comprehend being this dumb. By the way, tough guys, you had somebody who had China by the balls. You opposed him every step of the way. You had somebody who understood a little something like this. Funny. I thought you guys were supposed to be the readers and the academics and the educators. The educated. Donald Trump knew more about how to bend China's knee than anybody who has served in the Capitol or elsewhere in our lifetime. And he had him. He did. By phase 2 of those negotiations, he had him, and they knew it. Their manufacturing sector was teetering. And then just, it's amazing. So coincidentally, this thing leaks from a lab. I mean, it's coincidental. Gotta tell you. By the way, the lab leak theory, it's not conspiracy anymore. The UK government is a conspiracy theorist. It's disappointing because I feel like if this doesn't get rectified soon, so the West's biggest problem is that stupid people are in charge of policy. That's the biggest problem. Like, the underlying issue is that dumb people are in charge, and even dumber people are their propaganda arm. And if this doesn't get rectified really soon, this is really dangerous. Typically, I spend my time worrying about the dangers domestically that are brewing in this country as a pollster, and I'm listening to people's opinions. And I'm like, God, man, these people are mad. This country is a powder keg. Polling things like how likely is the next civil war, second civil war, looking at those numbers. My God, that's horrifying. Any rational, level-headed leader would look at it and say, we got to fix this. We have to stop with the crazy stupidity, the crazy talk, the racial politics. Any rational person would say that. Would look at 2/3 of the country believing a civil war is likely, and that a peaceful solution is not likely, and yet actually prefer that to finding a peaceful solution. More than 1/3. That's more than started the American Revolution. It's the larger percentage of the population that started the American Revolution or believed in it. That's terrifying. Anyway, I typically worry about domestic stuff, but this stuff is just like, we had a realist president for 4 years. One time, the Gipper was a realist. Reagan was a realist. He was, but he had neocons all over him too. Idiots like Kirkpatrick. ABC. Anything but communism. Fighting communism abroad while it festers in your own country. Department of it. The crystals of the world, so worried about communism abroad, yet because they're not conservative and never were. They are neocons. They're domestic statists who faked being conservative so they could infiltrate the Reagan administration. That's what happened, because they had no political home, because the Democratic Party, the party of statism, left-wing statism has always been, the Democratic Party didn't want them anymore. Because the Democratic Party became, after the Vietnam era, the anti-war party, or supposedly. Reagan and the rest of them should have worried more about communism festering within its own borders. The Department of Education fight. Republicans stuck the knife in Reagan's back on the Department of Education. Now look, 40 years later, the damage that department has done to the American identity. All this money being thrown, and yet they haven't had a single impact. Literacy, graduation, actually got worse after the Department of Education was founded, instituted, established, whatever you talk. Anyway, so now I worry more about this stuff has to get taken down, because people are really this dumb. It dawned on me last night. It really did. It dawned on me last night that people are too stupid to like worry about MAD or something, mutual assured destruction. They're just too dumb. They're not really educated at all. And being educated or not educated apparently has nothing to do with whether you went to college or not. In fact, the more years you spend in academia, the dumber apparently you get. So there's that. I mean, well, yeah, we can have a little interacting here. Yeah, in case you didn't hear, everyone in Chechnya can be punished 3 years in jail for supporting Russian Operation Online, going full circle from communist censorship we left 33 years ago. See? And we take the moral high road here? Get out of here. Take that fake moralism and stick it up your... Don't worry, Madam Producer. But could be for U.S. fighting Russia, maybe putting NATO in. What about Ukraine? I mean, at this point, what's the point? This is the thing. Like, we have lost the advantage with the 3 other largest nation states in the world. They are now going to form a balancing coalition against us. That's happening. That's going to happen. But what are we getting out of the deal? Maybe Ukraine if they survive. And Finland. And what's the other one, Laura? Finland and Sweden, right? Yeah, Swiss would never do it. Yeah, Finland and Sweden want to join Norway. Want to join NATO. Wow. So we lost an ally in, the Modi-like Indian population. We lost. Laura, what the hell is Sweden going to do? Throw snowballs at them? It's not even like we're getting warrior Northmen out of this trade. They've been pacified and wussified by Western elitism. They don't have a single Viking gene left in their DNA. That culture is gone. Thank you. But don't worry, line up and throw snowballs at the V2 rockets when they come. Because of the existing global order, the only other ally we have that can do damage if we were to unchain them would be Japan, who absolutely hates the Chinese. They hate their guts. Always have. Thousands of years. This tiny little island or group of islands has whooped both the Chinese and the Russians numerous times. The Chinese, over the course of like thousands of years, they've completely, with the exception of one dynastic ruling age, the Japanese basically dominated them. But, because of this post-World War II, Cold War era, global order, really looks orderly, by the way. They're not allowed to be the people that they once were. We have committed to defending the nation of Japan. I don't know how Japan is going to sleep well at night when we can't defend ourselves. If I was Abe and the Japanese people, I would go, first of all, I would have done it under Donald Trump because that would have been the smarter one to do it under. I would have went to Donald Trump and listen, man, I want a last samurai out. Peace. I don't need this anymore. Can you do me a favor? Get most of the people out of here from your military. You can have some existing forwarding base, no problem. We're going to have you roll that up a little bit, reduce it. Because we're militarizing again. You're weak. Your biggest enemy is right here. We're not feeling so safe. Kim Jong-un is lobbing intercontinental ballistic missiles over our islands on the monthly. We're going to need to break up this little relationship. Don't worry, it's not you, it's me. And I'm out. Tell me, Eli. Tell me. Even in your Cold War situation, who are we going to look to for rare minerals? Where are we going to get them from? Your party has banned mining for them in our deposits. Your nutcase environmentalist allies will go ape if we start digging in that ground. You are aware that they're used in defense applications, right? Like the guidance system in a missile. Where are we going to get that from, Eli? In your Cold War strategy? How much are you willing to pay for oil, Eli? Oh, that's right. You're a Metroite and you take public transportation. Well, when your ticket price goes through the roof, maybe that'll hurt you and you'll care. But the rest of the world and the rest of the country, the vast majority of us, we have these things called automobiles. They run on something called gasoline. It's novel, I know. We have to go to this thing called a gas pump to fill up said automobile. And under your guy, the price of that crap is going through the roof. I'm not sure Americans are going to want to take the pain that they will take at the pump for your personal vendetta against Russia or your stupid, idiotic idea of getting into a Cold War with Russia, China, and now India. As a matter of fact, let's look at some real polling here. Okay. I meant to give this to locals this morning. Rasmussen sent this over to me. We'll take a look at it together. Let's make it bigger. Let me get rid of myself. Boom. By the way, Americans are always saying, willing to do this for green energy. Then it happens, and they reverse their opinions real quick. So it's not it's not even a matter of resolve. It's a matter of people not being able to afford it. And it sounds all very, well and good right now until you really have no choice but to feel it. Hey, Laura, can you do me a favor? I don't believe I sent the link to Don. Can you do that for me? How likely is it that the Russian invasion of Ukraine will hurt the American economy? Very likely. 40%. Congratulations, 40% of the country, you have a brain. Somewhat likely, 34%. 74% overall believe that the economy will get hurt. By the way, where are Democrats living? These people live... I'm sorry. I don't mean to marginalize anybody here because that's not the kind of show this is. But this is really becoming a pattern here. Where the entire country agrees on something. And yet they're always less likely to admit it. This is good. This is what I'm talking about with serious internal problems. During, for instance, the Trump administration, the economic confidence indicators would have been even higher if Democrats didn't lie about their economic confidence on a monthly basis. And that's not me saying it. Richard Curtin from the Survey of Consumers, who runs the consumer sentiment index, he has openly said it as much as well. We thought we saw a partisan disparity, but under Obama, it was nothing compared to Democrats that we knew were wealthy, we knew were doing just fine, yet reporting extremely negative economic confidence. Why? Because Donald Trump was the president. It was ridiculous. It was ludicrous. 48% of Republicans say it's very likely the economy will get hurt. Another 31% of Republicans say it's somewhat likely, for a grand total of 8 and 10. The same is roughly true of unaffiliated voters, 42% saying very likely, 31% saying somewhat likely, for a grand total of 73%, about 3/4. Altogether, Democrats are 72%, but look at where they lean here. I mean, it's just honestly incredible. You're not sure? Really? That big? Somewhat likely is the lion's share, is a plurality. This is becoming a real issue. Same thing when we asked who the biggest enemy was. Only 20% of the country said Russia. The vast majority of that was Democrats. The rest of the country, rightly, saw China as the biggest enemy and the greatest threat. Is the economic impact of the Russian invasion of Ukraine likely to last less than 6 months, 6 months to a year, or more than a year? And by the way, I'm going to have to take a sip of water here, but have you heard about the number of refugees that have left Ukraine? Exceeding a million people as of yesterday, flooding into Poland. Everything Kamala Harris is tasked with doing fails. Everything. Give me 1 second. Let me have a drink. And you might rightly say, well, like, what was she going to do? Not start a war? Maybe? There's no way to stop the out-migration of refugees fleeing war zones. The general concept is not to create a war zone. Less than 6 months, 20% of the public said less than 6 months. 34% said 6 months to a year. More than a year, 28%. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and do something myself and put myself in that 19% who says they're unsure, not sure. Why is that? Because I'm not in Vladimir Putin's head. And right now, with the failure to implement a no-fly zone, he has absolutely no motive, no incentive. Despite all the lies from the Ukraine Defense Ministry, Russia has not lost thousands and thousands of soldiers, hundreds of airplanes, fixed-wing aircraft. Russia says they lost about 400 soldiers. So the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But then the Ukrainians are basically out of javelins, ammunition. So there's no way. And those aren't, by the way, can I just be honest here? Can I be real here for a second? Those are Green Berets shooting down those aircraft. So this idea like, oh, no U.S. combats. Who the hell do you think teaches the Ukrainians how to operate these weapon systems? That is the job of a Green Beret. That's what they mean when they say military advisor. The oppresso labir, right? So they already are lying to you. Oh, there's no U.S. soldiers. Yes, there are. We said goodbye to them a month and a half ago. They knew they were going. They left Bragg, what, Laura? A month ago? 4 weeks ago? Something like that? Yep. You could pop in if you want. It was like 4 weeks ago, right? Because I think people probably can't hear you. Unless you can't. But yeah, she went, yep, in case you didn't hear. It's like 4 weeks. That's a good... You know, even Marines, Laura. How many neighbors do we have in the Marine Corps? I mean, not coming back till like mid-April. Right?
Right.
So it's like lie that they're not, they're not engaged in. It's just total lie. They're just completely lying to the country. They want the American people, Laura, to look at that as like, we haven't sent 100,000, like a ground force of 100,000 strong. But these advisors, I mean, they pretend like they're like, these are guys like on the phone, like, no, point that javelin a little to the left. I'm gonna, yeah, 2 degrees east. Yeah, no, it's just.
They're only training them, Richard.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Advising.
Pretty well if they blew all that aircraft out of the sky. Get out of here. You ever trained an indigenous troop to fire a javelin? You might as well be teaching a 2-year-old to tie their shoe. I'm not kidding. I mean, of course, eventually they get, of course, but
Not in a week's time.
Laura, they would not be that effective in a couple of weeks. No, absolutely not. That would be the best damn 18 Bravo operative I have ever seen. That they train, for those who don't know, the Bravo is the weapons guy on an ODA. All right. That those 18 Bravos have to be the most efficient, the best damn teachers since what's her name, who taught Helen Keller. All right, the miracle worker. Oh, by the way, that was just yesterday. I was thinking about it too, because yesterday, somebody give me her name. It was the day. Yesterday was the day when she first met Helen Keller. You guys know, right? Somebody give me the answer here. Somebody
Anne
knows
Sullivan.
her name. Anne Sullivan. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That 18 Bravo is like what Anne Sullivan was to Helen Keller. If they're firing javelins like that already. And by the way, they've had the javelins and the ammunition since Trump gave it to them. But
yeah, but he was begging for more.
The people we know did not get to make them proficient in it yet. They again, folks, they just left 4 weeks ago to do this. So, I mean, this is the problem. Summer makes a good point, and basically says if we declare a no-fly zone, we should advise the CCP that if we nuke Russia, then we'll also hit China too. This is the problem, Summer, with this stuff. Eventually, it just rolls into asymmetrical madness, which is why, of course, NATO was never going to authorize that request for a no-fly zone against Putin. That means they have to shoot down Russian fighter jets and Russian bombers. They do that, and then it's on like Kong, and they know it.
Mm-hmm.
So the truth is, they're afraid of the Russian military. Otherwise, come on, can we be real? They are afraid of Russia. Otherwise, they would have granted that request. It would have been their excuse that they needed to engage.
Mm-hmm.
Either that, or they haven't found their Lusitania event yet, or their Gulf of Tonkin event yet.
Good enough.
I was a little bit worried the other day about the nuclear power plant lie being it. I was like, here it is. This is it. I'm like keeping my eye peeled. Where's the WMD lie? Where's the Gulf of Tonkin lie? Where's the Lusitania lie? It's coming. It's coming, Jay.
It's also
coming.
been very provoking how they're hitting the Ukraine. They're trying to provoke and what's the mass fear, invoking it to try to stir the pot.
Well, ginning up fear always stirs, yes. And then these incidents, I'm telling you, I don't know how old everyone is, but I remember the babies in the incubator event was the event that changed public opinion toward the Gulf War. Nobody wanted to get into the Gulf War until they put on that stunt with a royal's daughter pretending to be a nurse who survived an Iraqi incursion into her hospital in the maternity ward, where they horribly, ripped the babies out of the incubator and they were just throwing them on the floor. They were just throwing them on these babies, just gasping for air. Do we have the baby in the incubator lie? I'm going to find it. You guys think I'm joking here? Incubator video. Here we go.
Actually, somebody just asked for it too.
Somebody just asked for it?
Yeah.
Kuwait law. Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Oh, there she is. Here she is. Let's get it, folks. Because I want to show you what they're capable of. Okay? This is, while I was there, I hope you guys can hear it. You should be able to hear it. All right? Because I am hitting, once again, audio. Let me just make sure I'll uncheck it and check it again. Here we go. The babies in the incubator lie coming up. No, I mean, it's important to show people this crap. It is. Just so people can see how bad these people, the lengths these people are willing to go to lie and get you to support a war, a conflict.
While I was there, I saw the Iraqi soldiers come into the hospital with guns. They took the babies out of the incubators. Took the incubators and left the children to die on the cold floor.
I myself buried 40 newborn babies that had been taken from their incubators.
Kids in incubators, and they were thrown out of the incubators so that Kuwait could be systematically dismantled.
Okay, so what really happened was that Kuwait, the Bushy's friend, okay, Kuwait was drilling in an area that was underneath the ground on an angle with new technology and stealing Saddam Hussein's oil. That's what was really happening. So it's like, this is what you hear. This is the truth. Liberate Kuwait. They were a bunch of greedy oil fat cats who apparently didn't think that this giant reserve of oil underneath their feet made them extremely rich was enough for them. So they got you, the American people, to come in and boot out a man who had a legitimate beef. The UN, by the way, the Gulf War is a perfect example. People say, well, see, the UN does work. No, actually, in academia, the UN is a perfect example of the Gulf War is a perfect example of the UN not being what it was intended to be, a stabilizing force. It was completely manipulated. And it started a war. The UN was supposed to prevent them.
Mm-hmm.
Prevent conflict. Instead, they started a war. An unjust war. Saddam Hussein had no recourse. He couldn't go to the UN and get some kind of justice. The UN wasn't for him. So unfortunately, great power politics comes back. He had nothing but, he could turn to nothing but realpolitik. Power. And he made a rational decision to invade Kuwait. Which he didn't even really do all that much. I'll be honest here. He did, of course, invade Kuwait. But I mean, he could have done even more damage. He was just trying to stop them from drilling the damn oil out of his ground. You were manipulated, and you sent your sons thousands of miles on the other side of the world under the late, great Colin Powell, such an honorable man who 10 years later lies in front of everybody, the entire world. And your sons got to be part of his epic left hook. Epic. What a tactician. What a strategist. He beats an antiquated army in 48 hours. Unbelievable. What a load of crap. I'm just, Laura, I'm just sick of it's just a lie. They're all lies.
It gets old.
If you're going to fight, it gets old, baby. It gets old.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to fight, by God, make it be something worth fighting for. Let it be
Wouldn't
for
that
something
be amazing?
worth fighting for.
That we
haven't done
actually
that.
fought a war for a real reason.
We haven't done that since the Second Great War.
Yep.
And when we got into it, we didn't even know how just it would be. That's the truth. We got into it because they pushed us into it. We got into it because they levied that those very strict embargoes on Japan in an effort to get Japan to attack. And it worked. So we didn't even enter it like with clean hands, And but once we did, thank God we did, because we had no idea what they were doing. And that was it. Even the First World War, it's none of our damn business.
Nope. We got
It was
dragged
none of
into
our damn
every
business.
war. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It wasn't. Sorry.
Vietnam was a mistake.
Oh, Germans could, the English could be speaking German. Who cares? The English. Nobody told them to demilitarize? Right? I mean, these are kind of the decisions that you make, and you have to live with them. Do I prefer the British over the Germans? Of course. It's not it's not the point. And now at this point, then I would have, yes. Now, I mean, frankly, not even too sure. Were they a beacon of liberty and individualism during the pandemic? Or were they no better than the tyrants who came down with the fascist hand of Big Pharma? Nobody's held the real culprit accountable at all. So instead of us being a force of liberalization in the world, China is being a force of tyranny in the world. Their effort to make the rest of the world like them is far, far more successful than our effort to liberalize or westernize these other countries. Australia is basically a fascist state now. We know it. Apparently it was, and the people were just all right with it. I wouldn't live in Australia if you paid me millions of dollars a year just to stay there. Canada, our neighbor to the west, north, I'm thinking west because you kidding me? No, thank you. I just don't, I'm not seeing what all of this bloodshed, what benefit did we get from all of this? We should have been more focused on the domestic issues that were leading us to become more like our enemies. Systems of government that have no constitution. And I don't mean that as a document, folks. I mean it as a constitution, a social contract that defines the relationship between the individual and the state must respect that individual. Because that individual, along with his brothers and sisters, are the sovereign, and the state is not. It seems to me we spill all of this blood, we spend all of this treasure to be more like China. That is the inevitable outcome of this. It is. Unless, like I said earlier, we stop this madness. These people have got to go. Eisenhower's worst fear has come true. Eli Lake says we got to accept it. No, what we need to accept is that Eisenhower's worst fear has come true. By the way, Truman as well, who started all of this intel crap. Right after his presidency, he was writing op-eds in the New York Times like, listen, this thing called CIA, this is going to be a problem. These people are going to become part of a national security apparatus, and they basically think they're going to be able to dictate the events of, not only at home, but around the world. And going back to what Cerno said, we just kind of what? Sat back in stability while it had with our false sense of security. We sat back and just kind of, we're complacent. This has got to stop, or else this is not, it's over. It's over. It's over. I'm not trying to be, Johnny Raincloud here today. But this is not going to end well. This is going to end up with us being a very minor power, a weakened, once great superpower, who has basically been, like what we have been doing to other countries for years, economically raped and pillaged by countries like China. They're going to buy up. They already are. They're going to have all of these institutions. It's tragic. It's tragic. 4 years we spent on a lie to make Vladimir Putin the boogeyman when we had an opportunity to do something about it. I'm really, it's very, very disconcerting. Very disconcerting. By the way, Eli, even the Pentagon just last year, it's like, what the hell do you do at your job? I'm a pollster and I know this. The Pentagon just last year released a very concerning report that said there's no way we can win that fight. We cannot fight, cold or otherwise, two great nations at once. As far as a military conflict, you just created a balancing coalition that could rock us in a matter of, weeks. We'd have to break out, and I mean break out, the big guns, which would basically lend to us all anyway just being destroyed. So it's incredibly stupid, and I'm having a hard time understanding how these people got this dumb. Because even whatever we talk about academia and how failed they are at pumping out leaders, that used to be their job, and they took it with great pride. But do they have no common sense at all? Or is it just because I came from the street that I have is that what it takes to not be, I don't want to use that word, but stupefied?
No. There you go. Really, if you think about it though, Richard.
Do they have no common sense, Laura? None at all?
No, they don't, because of the fact that this is a career now. These are not people that have been connected to their constituents and therefore are running to help their constituents. They're doing it to create a career, a long-term career, and make money from it versus actually caring and understanding what is going on around them and within their state. This is the problem.
And they just have no street smarts whatsoever, so they can't see, simple things that the average person can see. And Lamp, that used to be the old thinking. I get it. and I'm not sure about India, Rich. China is a friend of Pakistan, and we all know how much India hates them. They actually addressed that the other day. That's the problem. So they're basically saying they would rather do that. They would rather ignore that feud, they've long held feud they've had with Pakistan, than take the losing side. That is essentially, if you listen between the lines, and I got to call Tarun, Laura, and ask him what the mood is over there, because these are journalists, from India that we've known, but I know, and I'll tell you what, when Trump was president and he went to India, Tarun was like, I've never seen a Western leader, any leader, welcome with love like Donald Trump was welcome with love. Modi rolled out the red carpet, and people were all over the streets. And the reason why they loved him so much, apparently, is because they did think that here is somebody who will get what Lamp is saying and finally take that relationship to the next level. So they felt a confidence with Trump to commit to that, Lamp. And now he's gone. And if you're them looking at the events that have happened in the world, are you guys aware that Vladimir Putin basically told the world that Joe Biden is an illegitimate president who stole the that Donald Trump was the legitimate leader and he was removed as the president, that the permanent government and political forces came together to remove the legitimate president of the United States? If you're India, you don't give a damn, if Wasser Toad, makes fun of you for thinking that, you don't care. You're looking at it from, a bird's eye view. You're saying, damn, it looks like that's what happened to me. We can't count on them. The empire has struck back. So you're going to have to figure out what's better, what's more risky to you. China's relationship with Pakistan, and a declining America who can't be counted on. And that's basically that is what they said. It was just 48 hours ago. It's not good. They basically said, we're taking Russia's side. We're taking China's side. Not good, folks. Not good. And I told you this when I saw the UN Security Council. What happened at the UN Security Council? We would have been able to count on them if it was Donald Trump. Hands down, they would have voted with us. Yeah, this is a good one. Nathan, I want to put it up. Rich, how can the U.S. be expected to condemn other regimes when the lefties in charge spend all of their time trashing the USA? They cede all moral high ground. That's right. Exactly. And you just heard before, Nathan. I mean, we're over there instituting commie-like crackdowns. Our Western allies. Like, my views right now that I'm espousing on this show would probably result in jail time. Right? I mean, that's what we're being told, right? This is crazy. 3 years in jail. What I'm doing right now would be not as objective thinking. It would be categorized as pro-Russia, and they would come and lock me up for doing the show. I don't know how long that's going to matter, because speaking of, it's a great story. This guy was locked up in Kuwait. What's he doing? Running drugs, right, Laura? He was like a drug trafficker or something. Anyway, yeah, right? He gets locked up in Kuwait, and he's not going anywhere. I mean, they're basically giving him life for this. He is done. His life is over. Can he get out one day? Yeah, because a lot of times you'll get life or something like that, and then, 8-10 years later, their prisons are so ridiculously overcrowded, they may let you go. But he was in there, no sign of hope, no sign of reprieve. By the way, the American embassy totally screwed him. And Saddam invaded, and all the guards left. The guards are our Kuwaiti friends, by the way. Do you know what they did to these prisoners? They left them to die. They didn't open the cells. They left them to die. The bombings, shells, the fires, prisoners burnt alive, overcrowded cells burning up. The only way he got out is because he said some guy with like stumps for legs, tree trunks, he said, was just like, back away. And he just ran and jumped and kicked it with his tree trunk legs and busted the gate open. And then they proceeded to try to let out as many as they could, but the guards ran with the keys, our Kuwaiti friends. Babies in incubators. Babies thrown from incubators. What about burning human beings alive? It's moral high ground crap, Nathan. It's just nonsense. It's nonsense. And when you hear a leader like Lindsey Graham, who's supposed to be a member of the most deliberative chamber in the world, the most deliberative body in the world, make ridiculous comments like that, or Tom Tillis make ridiculous comments, he's a murderer and a liar. Therefore, we should kill him. All of our friends are murderers and liars. Our president is a murderer and a liar. He murdered an entire family just like, 2 months ago? We forgot? They hate Julian Assange because we murdered a Reuters journalist. That was his real original sin, I'm telling you. When he dumped the Afghan papers and that video footage, that is when he became public enemy number one to the military-industrial complex and the permanent government. Who, by the way, apparently had a plan to kidnap and kill him in 2017. So we're supposed to look down on Vladimir Putin for what, poisoning his political opponent or something? You tried to kill Julian Assange. This is nuts. It's just nuts. It's so fake. It's like fake moral outrage. It reminds me of Mitt Romney saying, I'm going to draw a moral equivalency between Nazis and Antifa. Are you stupid, Mitt Romney? Communists killed far more than Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler was a freaking Cub Scout compared to Mao, Pol Pot, Stalin, Uncle Joe. Remember? Our buddy. Mitt Romney, another complete idiot. You're going to do something, you're going to start these things, then fight him and fight him right. But of course, They got what they wanted, and now they're leaving these people. They just now dawned on them that Russia wasn't fighting hard. Russia was just running around the country, airstrikes and taking up positions. In case you haven't noticed, they're encircling them. Okay. They were just really engaging in demilitarization. George was right about that. Or Peter, whoever said that's what they're going to do first. They're not really fighting. The media is bullcrap. He was right about that. That's very clear. They were simply trying to remove certain capabilities in the beginning. The real ass kicking hasn't started yet. Everyone thought the Russian army was just going to like run out of gas. Did you see some of the stupid posts from elected leaders? The Russian military is completely ineffective. Look, there's all these pictures of trucks out of gas. We run out of gas all the time. Humvees. Oops, I took a wrong turn in Iraq. Are you kidding me? It happened all the time. Didn't mean our army was falling apart. I mean, it's just the stupid. Before I go to a break, this is the real message here. The level of stupidity and ignorance is getting dangerous to global stability. Okay? That's what the point I'm trying to make here. And I'm a realist. So think about what I presuppose about the international system. The problem is these people are ignorant. And ignorance is dangerous. And then especially when you have even dumber cheerleaders in the propaganda arm that supports your regime cheering you on. There's nobody checking the stupidity. Who is balancing against the stupidity? We don't have that anymore. The media's role is not to be a check on power anymore, the halls of power, as has been its traditional role in the modern era. They're just cheerleaders. And that would be fine if they just kind of like outed themselves and said, you know what? Yeah, we're back to the era of like partisan media. But they don't. And they put on, these fake analysts, or worse, these completely bought and paid for analysts, MSNBC, CNN, that half their damn staff is like former military or intelligence. They put them up there as authorities. And they're not. These are the idiots who created the mess. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe, maybe hit that notification bell. That'll let you know when I'm going to go live. But I'm going to implore you to sign up to Rumble, where we basically don't even share the YouTube URL anymore. So hint, hint there. And when you're at Rumble, check out the peoplespundit.locals.com community. Sign up. The more people sign up, the better the midterm coverage will be. And also, fact of the matter is, you'll get exclusive content. We'll talk more about the polling today because, man, we are rocking. When we come back, I'll give you an update on where we're at. But where you are, I think, well, to 2/3 now, right, Laura? It's almost done. I mean, I don't want to slow everybody down, but I was thinking we'd do what are the odds on Monday, and maybe we would need that to get over the hump. But because there's a very real possibility that this thing funds over the weekend, we got to talk about it now. All right. So on locals, that's something we do. All right. So I'll share the questionnaire with you, get your thoughts, and kick it back to me. Tell me what you think. If you do contribute, don't forget to put in your comment, even if you're anonymous, I can still see it. Put in your comment what you would like to see in this survey. And can't do everything, but the loudest voices, the more we hear about one topic, the more we try to decide whether to put something in. All right. So it's like majority rules almost, basically. With that in mind, I'm going to take this real quick break. All right. You're watching Inside the Numbers. We'll be back in 2 minutes, 30 seconds after Bad Habit, Bone Band. Special thanks for the theme song.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love, because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
We can get on a plane and take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to disappear for a night, just to give in to the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
And we're back to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. Follow me on Getter at People's Pundit. Of course, you could you can follow Laura over there as well. Check it out; it's in my profile. And of course, I have been pushing everybody to sign up to Rumble. So get over there, sign up to the People's Pundit Rumble channel. When you're there, you'll see the locals icon. Should be right around there. Sign up to the locals community, peoplespundit.locals.com. Join the revolution and help us bring amazing midterm coverage to everybody. All right. So I do see Dawn has clicked in. I had to eat felt like my blood sugar going down. These people are driving me crazy. All right. They're putting me in, I'm telling you, I'm just starting to worry about the kids here with this level of stupidity. It's like, I don't know what people expected was going to happen. This is Joseph R. Biden in charge, ladies and gentlemen. This man made every single incorrect decision on every major foreign policy issue in his entire career over 4 decades. Why on earth did anybody expect he was going to be a good foreign policy president? And as far as Ukraine, Zelensky, are you stupid? You had faith in Joe Biden? This is a man who voted to send American sons and daughters to the Middle East, and then when they were there and the wind started blowing in the opposite direction, he licked his crusty finger and decided to vote against giving them needed supplies. This is not a man that's known to be counted on. The one and only person who advised Barack Obama not to kill Osama bin Laden. It's almost like this guy doesn't have a multi-decade history to look at. Which is why some people like me and others anyway who opposed, getting involved in this thing to begin with, because we know how this ends. Joe Biden's leading the world, leading the West again? Really? Allies in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, said on Friday that they will increase support but will not grant Ukraine's request for the implementation of a no-fly zone. Quote, we are not part of this conflict, and we have a responsibility to ensure it does not escalate and spread beyond Ukraine. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg told a press conference. You really have to be freaking delusional at this point to not have a grip on everything. To be up there supporting Joe Biden and his actions on this. To be like Eli Lake, gung-ho and cheering on a Cold War against a coalition, Russia, China, and India. All right. I'm going to bring on my buddy Don a little bit early if he's ready. Don, you ready, buddy? Yeah. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, as always, my good friend Don Smith joining us for a Q&A, joining us on Inside the Numbers. Thank you, my friend. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for popping on. Oh, it's not that early. I went over with the break, so it's fun. Yeah, but thanks for being ready.
Always a pleasure.
Don, my friend, I'm getting a little bit, even as a realist, believes that nation states make rational decisions. The problem I'm having is that it dawned on me last night that these people are really, really stupid, like even dumber than I thought they were. And and I didn't think that was possible. I know they were dumb. I just didn't realize they were dumb to the point of dangerous. Where you have somebody like Lindsey Graham, Tom Tillis running around talking about, why we should kill Vladimir Putin. Well, why? Because he's a liar and a murderer. He kills women and children. Don, we just killed an entire Afghan family like 2 months ago. Everybody forget about that? And then we lied about it.
Yep.
Like as if we're any better. You have people like he's not alone. I'm just picking on him because he is so pronounced about it. But somebody like Eli Lake, who's like, yeah, bring it on. Bring it on. Russia and China now. It looks like India's taking their side. You know what? Bring it on. We're at least in a Cold War with them. We're just going to have to accept it. This is a level of stupidity that leads to absolute catastrophe. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think actually you hear everybody talking about this is going to be WW3. This is WW1, folks. And what I mean by that is this is woke war 1. This is our first woke war, right? It's just beyond stupid. I mean, we're already hearing the climate change stuff, and somehow climate change is starting wars now. It's ridiculous. The entire thing is ridiculous. Listen to all the talk about, okay, so the example of woke. Look at all the talk about the oligarchs. Oh my God, the oligarchs, which are rich people that live in a communist country. Who really thinks that the oligarchs are making Putin's decisions for him? Do you really believe that? I mean, seriously. Right. So we're going to take their planes and their yachts, and how does that help the Ukrainian people? What does that do? Do you think Putin, because somebody's yacht gets taken away, he's going to go, well, we better get the hell out of there then? This is stupidity at a level we haven't seen before. And I think I really think it's an overall society thing, and not just an American society thing. I think it's a global thing. And that's why I say this is WW1, woke war 1.
Yeah, I think you might be onto something there, man. I mean, look at what happened, like I was talking about with Australia and Britain, and COVID, the pandemic really did reveal this. It's like mass mental illness and stupidity. And it's got to be global. You're right. It's got to be. Look, Australia, pretending to be a free country all this time. The United Kingdom, I mean, pretending to be like the second, nation right behind the United States as a beacon of freedom. No, they're not. They rolled over for fascism immediately, and then they think they're smart while they do it. That's the craziest thing too. So like, Eli Lake thought he was having like some kind of like God-given epiphany, and that it's the most brilliant thing since like, the revelation of John. I mean, this is like, it's a level of arrogance and hubris that's combined with ignorance, and it's very dangerous. Like, I don't know I don't know how big of a mistake people this dumb can make, and it's starting to worry me. I'm thoroughly worried at this point.
Yep. Yeah, and I think if you look at it too, you look at so this is really the first war too. I say woke war, but it's the first war that we've had really where social media has been a big, huge thing. So I heard you talking about Lindsey Graham and his comments, and It's stupid. I mean, it's dangerous. I mean, you're putting stuff out there. You want to get a bunch of likes and retweets and all those kind of things. There's an actual war going on. There are people getting killed. So this is serious. This isn't just
this blood is on their hands. They did this.
This isn't the latest Netflix series, and you're all talking about the latest episode. And this is real stuff with real people and real consequences. So let's keep the focus. Here's my advice to everybody would be: keep the focus where it belongs, which is Putin. This is all about Putin and what he's doing. There's a lot of talk about the no-fly zones and all these kind of things. Who's gonna enforce that? That's
the thing that bothers me so much, Don. They were talking 2 weeks ago, a week ago, as if NATO had any teeth, as if they had any teeth, like they were, the Max Boots, the Crystals, all of these idiots, the Frums. Like, what the hell did you think was going to happen? You were going to push these people into a conflict with a great power. You were never going to help them. There's no way to help them. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just, and the rest of us just sit back. Like, what are you talking about? NATO aggression with no bite. It's all bark, of course, but it is NATO aggression. The Warsaw Pact is gone, and NATO exists at this point to just essentially, it's like winners write the history. And we have secretary generals. They have great lives. They get, everyone's got their great defense contracts, right? But they're not really the NATO that it once was. It's not. It's more like a bureaucracy. Anyone who served in the military and has any knowledge or has any kind of partnering with the NATO force, what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. They might as well be UN peacekeepers. Yep. This is a joke. Yep. A joke. And by the way, that's why Putin did. He knew it.
I happened to catch something the other day. It was a clip, and I think it was MSNBC, and it doesn't matter, whichever one it was. And they were talking about how, for the last 3 presidents, we've held NATO accountable for No, one guy did that.
What?
His name was Donald Trump. Barack Obama held NATO accountable and made them pay their fair. No, he didn't. Donald Trump was. They even said they threw George W. Bush into the mix there.
Oh, my God.
He didn't do it either. The only guy that held NATO accountable on anything was President Donald Trump. That's just a fact.
Don, you think they forgot about this? Like, they forgot about attacking Donald Trump when he did this? And people were saying that the world was going to end. I mean, basically, NATO was going to dissolve. Mm-hmm. That meant Russia would easily be able to sweep through Eastern Europe, and then into Central Europe. The Germans were having a heart attack. They were full of crap. They just didn't want to pay the money.
Yep. And
Donald Trump made them pay their fair. Otherwise, it's not about. Here's what people didn't understand. I wrote Foreign Policy 101 for Dummies, Foreign Policy 102 for Dummies during that fight. And I tried to explain to people. NATO is supposed to be a balancing coalition against the Warsaw Pact, even if you wanted to keep it in place. If they don't pay their fair share, it's no longer a balancing coalition. It is now a bait and bleed operation where you're just bleeding the great superpower while the rest of them bandwagon on you. And that is the sure way for a superpower to fail, to collapse. So, I mean, you drain their resources, you take too much. And their domestic problems will build up and up. I mean, it has happened. This is actually happened. Think about all the money, Don, that we could have spent on other things other than making people like Secretary General Stoltenberg a rich man, And somebody has said, I think it's Lamp says, the new Japanese Prime Minister Kishida is pro military buildup. Is that true? I didn't know that. I knew Abe kind of wanted to, but with Trump, it was no point because Trump had his back. And if I was Abe at that time, I would have said, I want to build my own damn military, like the way it used to be. And I would, frankly, man, I'd turn the Japanese loose. I would. Yep. This is a country that, think about it. I mean, it's like a collection of islands. And yet it kicked the crap out of China for thousands of years. It whooped Russia, and it whooped Russia under the Tsar. I mean, so it was the most embarrassing defeat the Russians ever had. I mean, they thought that war was going to be over early, quick. They were going to easily defeat the Japanese, and they got routed. I would now that's an ally, but this idea that we really pushed India into the arms of Russia and China to the point where India comes out and makes a statement, basically saying, that we're taking their side because the West is it basically it had the tone like the West is done, you know, and they're done. We're getting on the winning side here. That's horrible. Don, it's horrible.
Yep. Well, yeah, and again, back to the whole woke war thing. The purpose of NATO anymore is really just about redistribution of wealth.
Yes.
From one country to another.
Yes.
That is literally their primary purpose and their primary goal in life. So it's like, oh, there's a war going on. Well, okay, yeah, but we got to worry about, we got to get some money from these guys to these. I mean, it's insane. They're about as useful now as the CDC has been during the pandemic, right?
Right. And here, I'll give this one to you. Basically, it says, I'm sorry, I'll click back over, and the Ukrainians aren't just trying to get NATO involved, but also Israel. And they fabricated a story about Russia shelling the Babi Yar Memorial. Israeli foreign minister fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. The Israeli prime minister did not. So the foreign minister did. I mean, this is what I'm saying, though. Like, it was like, that's one person away from a complete foreign policy catastrophe. That's what we can't keep living on the edge like this, folks. This is not the way to conduct international relations. And before I played that was probably a comment from 1246. I was probably around the babies in the incubator thing. Like, I was trying to show them the lengths. You remember, Don? I know you do. I do. The lengths these people will go, to do this, to get what they want, to redistribute that wealth, right? The Kuwaitis were robbing the oil from Iraq. Saddam Hussein had no recourse because the UN wasn't for him. It wasn't meant for him. So it really isn't, this like global referee or global police department. It's a load of crap. And he had no choice. I mean, they were drilling on an angle underneath his border and stealing his oil. So what else was Saddam going to do? Meanwhile, we got a story about babies by the daughter of one of those disgustingly rich folks. When you talk about oligarchs in Russia, when you hear all of those neocons and neoliberals talk about, like Don said, the oligarchs in Russia, so you think they got money? So do you think they got money? The Kuwaiti royal family sends, filthy rich, sends one of their daughters over to lie to the American people in front of Congress. I mean, it's just, the moralism drives me nuts, Don. I can't stand the moralism anymore. I just can't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all stupid. But you look, talk about Donald Trump holding NATO accountable, right? So he gets Germany and others. Germany was one of the biggest offenders, but they're also one of the most in favor of redistributing people's wealth. So think about that for a minute. It's the whole the pandemic thing, like all these people who talk to you about wearing masks and then you see them out partying, they got no mask on. So Germany wants to redistribute everybody's wealth, but they're going to kind of hold theirs back because they think it's probably kind of stupid to redistribute their wealth, right? We're like the only country that's playing along with this and going, yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think it'll solve a lot of problems. It's not going to solve any problems. But the oligarch thing, I'm telling you, folks, the oligarch thing, fine. People are rich and do they have power? And maybe are some of them evil people? Sure. How is that any different than Mark Zuckerberg? Isn't Mark Zuckerberg an oligarch? Shouldn't we steal his homes?
Don, who just got accused of election bribery on a mass scale.
Right.
I know we're not allowed to talk about that. Thank God for Rumble. I don't care. I'm talking about whatever I want to talk about. I don't care at this point. Yep. Mark Zuckerberg bribed election officials to steal an election. This is a serious man conducting this investigation. He's a former judge. He has had access to everything he needed access to. And I told you, what was it, months and months ago, right? I said, Don, I just got a call and I got to tell you, this sounds serious, because they were asking the right questions, so I had a little bit of faith in this, and it appears this is not something the media could they could just not talk about it, but they can't lie about it. I mean, I guess they can, but it's not going to fool anybody who has a brain. The Mark Zuckerberg is any different than the Ukrainian oligarch. And by the way, the Ukrainians have oligarchs too, but they're in bed with our leaders. Adam Schiff is knee deep in Ukraine gun running. He has had fundraisers, rubbing elbows at fundraisers and being funded. I mean, that is a chunk of his money came from essentially arms dealers, Ukrainian arms dealers. So it's just so stupid. Oligarch. This is so dumb.
Well, and so again, so Warren Buffett, isn't he an oligarch? Bill Gates, isn't he an oligarch?
Right.
Zuckerberg was never a good guy. The whole Facebook thing, which
He's a
was
prick.
the Facebook at the time he created it. He was paid by somebody to create that for them,
He stole it.
and he stole it. So
He
I mean,
stole it. Yeah. He's
yeah,
not some
so
genius. I mean, he's a code writing genius. I
yep,
give him that, or at least he
yep,
started that. But he stole that idea, and by the way, settled because he knew he didn't want it to be drug out. But he screwed over his best friend, the only one who.
yep,
This, if you guys don't know the story, Don, I'm glad you brought this up because a lot of people don't know the real Mark Zuckerberg.
mhm,
This guy is a piece of crap of the
mhm,
highest order. And just because you get filthy rich by screwing people over and then decide to give a whole bunch of money to charity and philanthropy, that's great. You're still a scumbag prick who screwed over the only guy who ever liked you because
mhm,
nobody likes him. And then it's true. He's an
yeah,
awkward, unlikable guy. And the only person who ever did like him or think he was a friend, he screwed, man. He
mhm,
booted out, and he basically forced him out of the company after he got money to take it bigger. But the idea itself wasn't even his, as Don said. The
mhm,
idea was not his. He stole it from two guys in college. That's basically what
yep,
happened, right? I mean,
yeah.
that's what I heard.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the key point that I make about bringing up the oligarch thing is don't let them distract you and shift your attention to it's the shiny object. The oligarchs are the shiny object in this woke war. I mean that's
Yeah,
really all it is. What did they do? Like I said, what did they do? Putin made this decision, and again, just because he steals somebody's yacht doesn't mean Putin's going to go, well, I better rethink this whole thing. Those oligarchs, who thinks they have influence over Vladimir Putin? I don't think anybody has influence over Vladimir Putin.
no.
And kind of the problem here, right? Kind of the
He's
whole
like one of the richest
situation.
guys in the world, man. He doesn't really, he's got completely consolidated power. The Russian people love him. That's another thing, Don. They keep talking like this is an unpopular war in Russia, and the Russian
Mhm.
people are going to rise up against him.
Yep.
Even if the war was unpopular, which I don't think we know that at all to be true. I know a lot of people who say that actually the Ukrainian army had to be decimated because of the war crimes they committed against the pro-Russian people in the Donbass, right? So I'm not at all. I'm not willing to concede the
Mhm.
premise of their argument even at all. But even if we did, it still wouldn't drive a man in unpopularity who has like a 70+% approval rating. It's like the same concept when they say that he steals elections. It's total nonsense. He doesn't need to steal elections.
Mhm.
He doesn't need to. Why would you if you're Vladimir Putin and you're almost universally loved? I mean, he kept the promise of bringing Russia, into the post I don't want to call it, the post Cold War era because it's really not. They had a major issue for a while, and they wanted economic freedoms, basically, and he basically gave them those people what they wanted without losing what it meant to be Russia, and they
Right.
love him for it. I know. I've interviewed them. And
Mhm.
there's an element within the urban areas, like in Moscow, where it was kind of like a Trump thing. The elites don't like him. He's like too crass. He's too brutish. Something about him offends them, right?
Mhm.
But the difference is that that population in Russia, that kind of like the yuppie class, we'll call it, they're not as big as they are in the United States. So it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It just
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Somebody has a good question. I think we answered the one about the no-fly zone. Don did, which is basically there's no point to support a no-fly zone anyway. Who's going to enforce it?
Mhm.
The greater argument here is that we beefed it up like we were going to do something and people were going to commit. And if a no-fly zone was in place, we were going to go out there and shoot down Russian MiGs or something. This is like,
Mhm.
and sadly, I think a lot of people in Ukraine bought it, buddy.
Yep.
I do.
Yep.
And
I
that's
do too.
where that's it. That's the true human tragedy here.
Yep.
And they just expected Zelensky to take his money and run and take an evac, and he's not doing that. So he obviously thought that we were going to provide more support for him. So I think at this point it doesn't really matter, right, Don? I mean, it's not a good or a bad idea. It's not even an option, right? When you agree, I mean, it's not an
Yeah.
option.
Yeah, the bottom line is this administration did nothing really. I mean,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they've even admitted that they didn't really expect that this was going to happen. And I will admit too that I really didn't think Putin would go forward. Right, I didn't really think he'd start shooting and killing, and I figured it was a lot of bluster. But they did. But you still have to do something as a leader. So they not only didn't do something about it to get. If you want to enforce a no-fly zone, you've got to be prepared for that. I mean, there's got to be things in place already to, okay, here's how we're going to enforce it. And there's no plan on any of that stuff. So when they talk about it, I mean, it sounds great. Yeah, it'd be great to have a no-fly zone. Tell them they can't. Well, they're not. The Russians today are doing a lot of things that they're not supposed to do based on international law and all these different kind of things. So yeah, and it's kind of like guns, right? Well,
Yeah.
we're just going to pass this law and it's going to stop everything. There will be no more school shootings. There'll be no, there won't. Criminals use guns that are in that way at school shootings, right? So one more law is not going to do any good. We always have those conversations about the Second Amendment, but
That's right.
the same thing kind of applies here. But if you listen to the State of the Union, Joe Biden, I mean, he was taking credit for, he did this and he did that. And what's really sad about this whole thing is he didn't do anything. Everybody else did it. Everybody else
That's
did
right.
it. So you've got Macron sitting down with Putin now and negotiating with him. The Nord
Right.
Stream. Biden didn't shut down the Nord Stream. In fact, if you remember, it was President Trump who put sanctions on Nord Stream. What was the first thing Biden did? He took them off.
Took them off.
So he actually helped Russia in that case. So as he sits there and pats himself in the back for being Mr. Great Wartime President, he's done nothing.
And Don, that's another thing that drives me nuts is that, somebody had said, Fang says, did Democrats poke the bear here? Yes, without a doubt. They've been poking the bear for 4 years now, for 5 years, while our real enemy was getting stronger and pushing the bear into the arms of our real enemy. This was, folks, I can't stress how stupid and how much danger they've put us in. This is mid-term, even short-term. I don't know yet. I mean, because they're so bad. Like if you would have asked Don and I 2 years ago whether we thought that Joe Biden, if he was to be elected, would be able to do this much damage this quickly, I think both Don and I would have said, no, we have institutions in place, and right, but these institutions are completely broken. They're complete, and the one party that's supposed to, stop an unpopular, tyrannical president, whatever you call it, they're just rolling over. So, for the most part, there's some things they block. They deserve credit blocking some things, there's no doubt. But as far as the global order, we went from near deal with Kim Jong-un, which I think we would have gotten under a second term of Donald Trump. I really do. To the Abraham Accords and, some kind of easing of tension with Russia. But every time Donald Trump tried to do that, as Fang said, they just kept poking that bear, they undermined his ability to stop Russia from wanting to balance with China. So they did that. They used sadly, they used a domestic political issue to really put us in a dangerous situation in our security, in our national security. And at this point, I think, Don, at this point, I'm not sure there is a good way out here, because what you were saying was something that frustrated us when he first came in. It was just like he wanted to un-Trump everything just for the sake of un-Trumping it. And what would be the point now? The sanctions he's talking about would take 30 days to kick in. That's number one, at least. And they're weak. And it's exactly, if you listen to Russian media, it's exactly what Vladimir Putin thought they were going to do, although I'm not sure about the SWIFT thing. But they did expect everything Biden laid out to basically be that framework. And our own domestic energy policy, which is the worst thing that Donald Trump could have done to Vladimir Putin, he knew that wasn't going to be, put back on course. He knew that. So I don't know, Don. I mean, what's the next move here with Joe Biden? He's out of moves.
Yep.
He backed us into a corner. We're screwed.
Yep. And look at the last time this happened. Let's not forget the last time this happened. So you had 2012. You had Mitt Romney, Barack Obama, foreign policy debate. And you had the president of the United States mocking Putin. 80s are calling for their foreign policy back, and he was mocking them. They can't do anything. What did they do? They went in and took over Crimea, right? So you poke the bear, there will always be a reaction. Here you had Biden here a month ago. Does Putin, did he actually have plans to go in? Or was it the bluster from Biden and from the administration, from all
Yeah.
the left, talking about this stuff that made him go, you know what? The heck with it. Let's go. I don't know that. I wouldn't even want to get inside Vladimir Putin's head.
But
I'm
you're
just
just
saying.
trying to get in his shoes, right? Like you're measuring this man, and you're like, and you've been measured. You have,
Yep.
what's the saying? You've been measured, and what is it? And you have been found wanting. Yeah, I mean that's it. Meanwhile, here's totally something different from Donald Trump, who's like, you know what, man? I don't want to go to war, but if you invade Ukraine, I swear to God, I will blow Moscow to bits. He did that stuff to people. He did. Like Xi Jinping over there eating his cake, and he's like, yeah, I just decided to bomb Syria. What were you saying? Like he was crazy like that, and these people didn't know what to make of the man. So they were like, you know what? I think I need to wait this guy out, right? I need to wait this situation out.
Well, for many reasons, we dodged the big one and I'm talking about Trump winning that election. This happens 4 years ago. If Hillary would have won, this happens 4 years ago. I don't think he wanted to wait. I don't think Putin wanted to wait. And this is one of those things. You hear elections have consequences.
What you just said is so important. So important. Go ahead.
Elections have consequences. Well, here you go. Here's another example. Afghanistan was an example. The gas prices, the inflation, that we could go on and on and on, because literally everything this guy's touching is you know what. But elections have consequences, and this is the consequence from this last one.
And he has the nerve to say he's the greatest job creating president. He's got the nerve to say that. Idiot. People coming back to work after their pandemic assistance runs out is not job creation. We have millions. We're still 8 million in the hole. When it was only estimated that 11 possibly would be, would leave, or go. The COVID measures would, impact about 11 million jobs, and they believe that would be temporary. The biggest comeback of jobs back to back happened in the 2 months under Trump, immediately after the first real shutdown. I call it crackdown. It is, and then people, if you read the ISM indexes, the panelists on the ISM index, whether it's the services sector or the manufacturing sector, they were waiting. They were, they had no qualms telling the ISM who conducted the survey that, we're going to see whether or not we got Trump or Biden. So that's why it kind of slowed. And then once we got Biden, they were constantly in fear of some, and I say this all the time because that's what one said and it sticks in my brain, some arbitrary number being exceeded that would lead to another draconian mitigation measure. So if you're a business and you're thinking, all right, business inventory is a perfect example, that index. Do you want to build up your business inventories if you know there's going to be a bottleneck again? Can you do that? Can your business afford to do that? No. So and that has, by the way, that has been, I know the primary driver of inflation is money supply. No, I understand people's, monetary theory. I get it. But what I'm saying is it was the supply chain that did us in, and their uncertainty, about whether or not, building up inventories was going to be the smart move. And then once all of that demand came back, there just simply wasn't, and there are a lot of things that go into this, that the unions, all of it, a lot that go into this. There was just not enough labor capital out there to get it done. I mean, it's just, but that would not have happened under Donald Trump. It wouldn't have, because they would have had the confidence that Trump was never going to listen to Fauci again, and that was not going to happen. So here we have it.
Yeah,
and thank you, big blue state governors. Thank you.
We saw Afghanistan, right? Everybody watched Afghanistan. This guy stood up there and kept patting himself on the back for the job he did getting us out of Afghanistan. 20 years from now, there will be a movie about this whole thing, and it'll be called The Man of Steel, and it'll be Joe Biden as he stares Putin down. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. So he's got the whole media behind him, the whole Hollywood, the whole everything is behind him. So they will rewrite this story, The Man of Steel, how Biden stared down Vladimir Putin, and whatever. This is what they do. So reality, there is such a divide right now between reality and the narrative and the things that they say. And but listen to what they say. The gas prices. They're talking about as well. You hear the new talking points about the Keystone Pipeline, right? Well, it was never operational. Right? You shut it down. It was going to be operational, but it would take years to have any impact on anything. Okay, so we shouldn't do it then. What they're telling you right now, they're telling you, America, to suck it up because gas prices are never going to be back down. That is their goal. Stephen Chu, who worked, what was he? He was under the Obama administration, energy secretary, right? So he said he wants $8 a gallon gasoline. Why? So people drive less. Obama said it over and over. Obama said under his plans, his energy prices would necessarily skyrocket. Go on to the fact checkers and see how they deal with that, how they redirect you. No, he only said that like 5 years. It doesn't matter. But this is what they want. This is the ultimate goal. Single payer healthcare is the ultimate goal. High gas prices, the ultimate goal. To get you to where you can't afford to drive is the ultimate goal.
And the fact checkers, Don, do you remember when Donald Trump turned to Hillary during the debate and was like, listen, Hillary, just admit you want to rip babies out of the womb. Just admit it. You know, and she was like, that's not true. The fact checkers went nuts over that. And here we go. Just 48 hours ago, 72 hours ago, they tried to pass an unfettered abortion bill. Yet USA Today, PolitiFact, factcheck.org, ATTN, Fox 4 Now. We found a slew of them saying that Democrats do not support abortion, anytime in the pregnancy. And that is a right-wing talking point, right? That is obviously now a total lie. And look at how Joe Manchin was being treated for defeating that bill. They went after him with a vengeance, Don. And I think, do I still have the graph? I showed this the other day, but we polled this, remember? This is pro-choice, pro-life. How many of each designation supported each abortion measure? And this is it during the final 3 months of the pregnancy. Joe Manchin was voting not only with the majority of West Virginians, he was voting with a super majority in the United States itself, 67.2%, including a majority of who say they're pro-choice, 55% oppose late-term abortion. And yet all the fact checkers said they don't support it. They just tried to pass it. They just tried, and they castigated the hell out of the guy who voted against it. You know, I honestly, the fact checkers are, it's good that people like you do what you do, like Just So You Know, which people should check out. Dom will not only fact check something, he'll fact check the fact checkers and then show you what liars they are, because there's no low. There's no low. And I want to ask you, this is a great question, and it's really combined. So like Owen said, I'm not thinking, decline anymore. Like, I feel like we're in a free fall. He said, I'm saying we've moved from declining to falling. And that goes hand in hand with somebody else was saying, who would have thought this all would have happened this quickly? Afghanistan, he screwed up the Gaza Strip issue too. I mean, so there's all of this going on, and everyone, of course, in the forefront of their mind is Taiwan. What do you think about Taiwan? You think China will look at all this, and at least in maybe not the short term, but midterm, say it's worth it?
Without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt. This is the greatest gift. This whole thing that to me is a wag the dog thing. This is a war of convenience. Biden needed something. He needed something going on to where it wasn't about him, because every single thing he touches turns to what. So yeah, certainly. This is the greatest gift China could ever have, is to have a conflict and to have us against Russia, right? It's doing all this stuff and wasting all this energy and time doing all this stuff, and they're just sitting back laughing. And what they're looking for is the world opinion. What happens to Russia in all this? Are there any consequences long term? Because if they're not, or they're minimal, then I think without a doubt they're going to make that move on Taiwan. And I think this is one of those things, again, where it's this administration that's not prepared for anything. They should already be up on top of that. They should be ahead of this one. If they didn't learn anything yet from what's going on in Ukraine right now, they should get ahead of this one, but they won't. I don't think they're capable.
And I think too, what concerns me with Taiwan, that immediately they came out and said, this isn't a similar situation. Taiwan has always and always will be part of China.
They're laying the
That's what
groundwork.
they said. Yep. And when I heard that, I was like, oh no. And then also,
Yep.
they have more pull than Russia does, especially in financial markets. So can people expect the Western response to even be as strong against Russia than it was, against China? Like, can we even equate it to what we're seeing against Vladimir Putin, which I don't think are severe. I really don't. Some things, like I said, that SWIFT thing, that kind of stinks. Visa, we'll see. Who it's really hurting is like Peter. He has a show on RT, Crosstalk. So, there are all these the idea, and listen to this. The idea of crosstalk is for progressives and conservatives, populists, libertarians, right? Whatever it may be, to come on a panel and basically debate each other vigorously. They have decided no longer to participate in crosstalk. So they just shut down, and I get it, RT, the Russian connection, I get all of that. But they actually shut down a show where there's debate, like a real debate. Isn't that ironic? So that's a Western value, or it was anyway, the debating of minds, right? And debating of views in the marketplace of ideas, right? Yeah, it used to be. And here they are. Who is really being hurt by some of this stuff? It's not Putin. It's, people are, like normal people are being hurt, which is somebody like Glenn Greenwald. He's been making that case for a while and has kind of ramped it up now. These sanctions aren't going to do a damn thing to anybody but the average person. That's the sad truth of it. Meanwhile, all of this is going on, and apparently we're giving away the goose in the negotiations with the Iranians, which nobody's even talking about. And I was watching former ambassador did a whole thread on it and was like, nobody's paying attention. Look at what is happening here. The Iranians will have a nuclear program up and running, no problem. But not only that, that the worst actors in Iran are going to be flush with cash, flush. We all know they have their little back channels that they get certain goods from when they do what they do. But Donald Trump absolutely brought them to their knees. And the Iranian nuclear deal was a joke. Trump got out of it, and he did serious damage with those. And he also got serious about people violating these sanctions. So they would get special permits. Don knows, but I don't know that everybody does. Our Western allies would still go behind our back and buy stuff from the Iranians anyway. Not just oil, not just energy stuff. They would sell them components that they're not supposed to sell them that could be used in weapon systems. And they would actually grant them special permits for it. It was nuts. It is completely counterproductive. And Donald Trump, being the common sense guy he was like, oh no, we will not be issuing any more of those permits. That really did bring Iranian exports to an all-time low. It crippled them. And yes, I know it hurts, like I said, average people, but it did hurt the regime as well. And all of this is going on right now, Don, and everyone's focused like a laser on Ukraine. No one's paying attention to it. Yeah.
Well, and we always talk about who gets hurt, but there's a cause and effect thing here. So whenever somebody's getting hurt, somebody's making out on it. I used to do a lot of business in Germany. So I'd go over there and I'd talk to these guys. Every one of them would always bring up the business relationship they had with Iran and how they were prospering off it. And they just couldn't figure out why America would let them have all this business, access to all this business, because they wanted to buy our stuff. The Iranians did, but they can get it from Germany. They couldn't get it from us. But also keep in mind, the whole time that Donald Trump was the president of the United States, you had John Kerry going to Iran, meeting with these people, meeting with them in Switzerland, and he even went to Iran and met with these mullahs and these guys and said, "Don't worry, just wait them out 4 years, and then we'll put this thing back together."
Sedition.
Oh my God, look at all the things that are going on? The investigations into Donald Trump every day. There's another investigation into blah 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 blah. How about somebody investigate John Kerry? They're not even denying it. They're not even trying to deny it. So
what John Kerry was doing was sedition.
Yeah,
flat out sedition. He was undermining the government of the United States. It was not the T word, but it's sedition. And without a doubt, if a Republican had done that, especially a hated Republican like a Trump ally or something, they would have been arrested. Let's get real. And which is, again, makes us really a laughing stock overseas, because you have John Kerry saying, don't worry, we're going to remove him, as if this isn't an elected president, as if the people aren't going to decide the next election anyway. Like, so people are running around the world telling other foreign actors that Donald Trump, no matter what you do, how many vote for him, he's gone. And then we have what happened, which they call the big lie. That's the big lie of it all. Now that we see Wisconsin, that's the real big lie. And Putin outwardly just says, that Donald Trump was removed from office. The people did not vote out Donald Trump, and we're a laughingstock. It's just a total laughingstock. So you may think the media is telling you the truth here, and it's the big lie. You buy all that. Understand, everybody around the world does not. The Chinese immediately said, we had Donald Trump removed. Immediately. They said it. So obviously took my mind back when I heard it the other day too. Something Tucker said. And now when we have this Wisconsin report, Don, all of these American, so-called American companies aren't at all American and aren't in America's interests. And here you have American companies working with foreign actors, to do their bidding, to help them anyway, do their bidding. It's very much a daunting challenge. So how do you fix this? You look at how deep the corruption goes. You had just interviewed Peter Schweizer, and people said, what do you mean? What are you connecting Zuckerberg to China? Yes, I am. Have you read Peter Schweizer's book? If the Chinese told Mark Zuckerberg, go bribe election officials, he's going to do it. I mean, you better read that damn book red-handed. That was, by the way, that was just fantastic, by the way.
Yeah.
Really good interview, Don. Really good.
Thanks.
And, I do see it's 1:57. Let me play what you got coming up. I'm going to play a clip Don has to showcase he had a big, and then when we come back, I'm going to let him tell you all about it. All right. But I'm going to say this. Media wants us to believe the 40-mile convoy ran out of gas 30 miles from Kiev. They all ran out at the same time. The rest of the convoy couldn't pass or push the empty gas ones out of the way. I know. I mean, that was from 2016. And thanks for the chat. It's ludicrous. It's completely ludicrous. I'm so glad. My audience, they're smart, man. They're smart. I wanted to ask you about Texas. I knew you got Paxton coming on too. I really wanted to ask you about Texas, but let's roll the clip and then I'll come back and we'll talk about it.
Okay. Well, join us this Saturday and every Saturday at noon Eastern Time for the Don Smith Show, where it's always okay to be a conservative. Hey, we had a great CPAC this year. I want to play a lot of those interviews for you. We weren't able to do the show on Saturday, so really looking forward to this. We had Matt Boyle from Breitbart. Talked about how Breitbart has survived through all the cancel culture stuff, and even a little bit about Andrew Breitbart. So great stuff with Matt Boyle. Always good to sit down with him. Representative Darrell Issa joins us to talk about Ukraine, everything that's going on, and basically what this administration is not doing. So Representative Darrell Issa was great. Senator Doug Mastriano running for governor in the great state of Pennsylvania. This guy is one of those guys we talk about that has conviction. Great guy. Also, my good friend, Mr. Ken Paxton, the Texas Attorney General, now down in the runoff when it comes to the elections and the primaries that just took place, but had a great time with him. And of course, Mr. Kash Patel, always great to sit down with him. So we had a lot of other great interviews. We will be playing some of those in the future. In fact, we're going to be doing a special show. I'll tell you more about it Saturday. So join us this Saturday, every Saturday, noon Eastern Time, the Don Smith Show, where it's always okay to be a conservative. So check us out, donsmithshow.locals.com. At Don Smith Show on Rumble is where you can see the live stream. We'll see you Saturday at noon Eastern Time.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Paxton interview too. Especially we just had that election. I don't know if you saw the show earlier in the week. Did you see the clip of Louis Gohmert that I rolled? Or it was Louis attacking Ken Paxton over the affair, the FBI he's citing, as if like the FBI is some trustworthy institution. What the hell did you make of Louis like this? First of all, the affair thing is just a low blow. The FBI stuff, dude, that's 2015. He's talking about a 7-year-old case. The hell is he talking about, Don?
Well, yeah, and I think the whole thing for me was kind of surprising. I mean, I like Louis Gohmert. Interviewed him a number of times, met with him a number of times as well, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like
that's all I
him.
wanted to ask.
But it really didn't make sense. Kind of made a little more sense after we spent some time there. So we had an opportunity to
Right.
go actually have dinner with Ken Paxton, and thanks to John O'Shea. Everybody check out johnscorner.com. John O'Shea,
Oh,
great guy.
definitely.
Had so
Great
much fun
writer.
hanging out with him, and got a really cool site up now. But we got a chance to kind of get to know him a little bit better. And this guy's just a great guy. I think Louis Gohmert just came in and kind of gummed everything up. And I don't know, again, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. Made a little more sense after the dinner we had. But anyway, that's another show. So
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah,
another show. I know.
it's a whole show.
I kind of alluded to that earlier too. Like, eventually that will have to, but be addressed. But yeah,
But
you got a lot of other good stuff too.
I think Ken's going to be fine. I think he'll do well. He actually did well in the primary. Just couldn't hit the over 50. So I think he'll do good. And why would you change him? The one thing about him is he's got a track record. So it's not just a bunch of promises. Hey, I'll do this. I'll do this. He's doing it. And this guy's a fighter. So yeah, I think he'll do all right. But yeah, we had a great time. The cool thing, I talked about doing another special with it. We got a whole bunch of interviews that I'm not going to be able to get on tomorrow, but we're going to do an alternative economy kind of thing, a parallel economy, because it's becoming so important with everybody getting shut down. I mean, I'm off YouTube now.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people are getting shut down. You just talked about RT and what's going on there. So it's happening everywhere. So we need to have in place, be prepared for getting kicked out of things and being able to have an alternative source of going and doing that. So whether it's your phone service, your whatever it is, Give Send Go. We met the creators of Give Send Go, who that all came up because of GoFundMe and all the other ones like that. So we will do a special show on that with some of the great interviews we got there too. But really looking forward. Daryl Issa was great. Ken Paxton was great. Cash Patel, what can you say? That guy's always awesome. Matt Boyle, though. That interview, I've interviewed Matt a lot, and Matt's a great guy. He's a
kind of Matt.
He's an intellectual kind of guy, and but he doesn't get fired up, right? He's just not a fiery guy. He's not like us. He got fired up in this interview. It was really cool to talk to him and talk about how Breitbart has survived the cancel culture, because they were really kind of one of the very first that was attacked, and this is horrible propaganda and all this kind of stuff. And they were one of the first alternative for the right anyway, and when it comes to digital media kind of stuff. So really cool interview with him. Of course, you will be there, Peter Hussey. So we got an amazing show tomorrow. So I hope everybody can join us at noon Eastern time.
Yeah, that's going to be a great show. Don will have a lot of great interviews. He's going to put up on his locals page. Last time, in case you missed it, he always has a great CPAC, and there's a lot of good stuff that you won't get. Tell you what, somebody's told you at CPAC, totally agree. Best voice in radio, best voice on TV, whatever it is. But your interviews are always different than everybody else's interviews. And that really came out to, if people haven't seen this, locals supporters that really came out during your Trump interview. I mean, really shined that about you, which is nobody could really bring Donald Trump into like a serious interview, and it became like a circus. And Don was like, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to have a serious conversation. And that really is what makes your interviews different than everybody else's, Don. You really everyone wants to come on a show and like give their little clips. There's never any real information, and with a Don Smith interview, you get information. That's the major thing that sets you apart, man.
Thank you. Thanks. I really appreciate that. And let me say this too, for those who we had an opportunity to interact with at CPAC on Radio Row. I really appreciate it, because we sit here and we do this stuff in our studios, right? And there's nobody around, and it's just really cool to have people come up and appreciate what you do, and it makes it all worthwhile. It really does. So thanks to everybody who stopped by and talked to us during the CPAC. It was great. It's just really appreciated. It's humbling.
Excellent. I'm going to check it out tomorrow. I'm going to be listening before. I'll be happy to join, listening after, because it's going to be a good one. All right, buddy. I'm going to go. You're going to go, right? We'll see everybody noon Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. Don't miss it. I'll tweet it out. I'll retweet it, right? We'll get it up there. Keep an eye out for it. And Don, we're really doing well with the Public Polling Project. So we should be back in the field soon. This is great. This is great. After Texas, which we didn't talk about at all, anyone who has a D plus anything on that generic ballot is just completely indefensible.
Yep.
2-1 almost. They outvoted them 2-1 in the state of Texas. I mean, this looks like a disaster for Democrats coming. A complete unmitigated disaster. That's what it looks like to me, brother.
Absolutely.
All right, well, give Brenda our best as always. All right, you heard that, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
And to Laura and the kids, and to everybody else, let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. Even my kids do that, man. See you guys. Well, I'll talk to you later, but see you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
All right, all the best, buddy. That's Don Smith, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're going to go real quick. Before I do, though, don't forget, like I said, go check out his locals page. If you guys are watching on Rumble, mine is right up there. Subscribe on Rumble. All right. And when you do, seriously consider becoming a supporter. You'll get early access to polling we do, exclusive stuff. And of course, like I said, the community, help build the community. You're going to help build up the election coverage that we're going to have going into the midterms, which I have very big plans for. Big plans and high hopes here. So, so check it out. And we will see you guys on the Don Smith Show at noon, but locals see you, of course, later, a little bit later. All right, guys, have a safe weekend. Thanks for watching. All the best. Stay cool.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends, and spread a little love just for a little fun. I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be. I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. There's rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to spear for a knife, just to give into the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be